All right, so this is the GYST manifesto. What is GYST and why a manifesto and who am I? I'm Paul. I'm the GYST guy. GYST, GYST, get your shit together. What I'm going to be doing is sharing little stories of my journey of getting my own shit together over the last year and going forward. And hopefully in the hopes of maybe helping you get your shit together too. Not advice. I don't have any advice. But what I have is experience and facing some issues in life and coming back from, I'm in recovery. That pretty much informs everything I do. That's not going to be what this is about, but it does affect everything. And the fact is, whether you're coming back from that type of issue, some type of physical or mental malady, you might have one thing in your life you want to get your arms around. Or you might have been a screw up your whole life and you're just sick of it and you want to get your shit together. I've done some stuff that my experience may be helpful to you. Basically, how do you get your arms around this bitch we call life and get some stuff done? Now, really what I'm going to be doing is sharing some of the specifics of what I did, where I got the information that helped me do it, and how I applied it to my life. Just to recap, so you know where I'm coming from, why this might even be valuable. Like 18 months ago, hopeless booze bag addict. I'd lost a real estate. I had been straight twice. First time, 10 years. I did a pretty good career in politics and government. Flamed out. Came back. Fairly successful real estate agent for about 10 years. Flamed out. I had lost my license in real estate because I didn't do my taxes for several years, and they don't like that. So I had lost my real estate license, lost my job. I was bartending in a little club in Stoneham. I won't name it, but populated by a bunch of good guys that ragged the shit out of each other all day. And working guys coming in, blowing off some steam, a couple of beers, whatever. I'm not a couple of beer and a bone type of guy. I do anything like that, eventually my whole life goes to shit, and that's what happened. But I could work there. I could drink while I worked, as long as I didn't screw up the money. So I was either on that side of the bar or the other side of the bar spending the money. My whole life revolved around hopefully making $120 on a shift so I could pay the 40, spend another 40, and then have a 40. And those of you who are living your life in $40 increments know what I'm talking about. My boss used to say when I left the shift, he goes, "How come when you finish working, I think you should pay me?" That's how much I drank, but that was funny. Anyway, I was homeless, pretty much. I'd lost a house. Had a foreclosure notice, so I abandoned my house. I was living with two friends who, out of the goodness of their heart, let me crash at their house for 2 months, feeling like a leech. I'd buy some food with my food stamps, feel like a scumbag every day, waking up and go to bed feeling like an asshole. And that's not because of food stamps. If you need food stamps, get food stamps and buy food until you can get a job and buy your own food. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just where I was at the time. Jobless, hopeless. Kids hadn't talked to me in 3 years, or now it's 3 years. Not a lot to live for, and I don't know if I was being dramatic, okay? But I was closer to suicide than ever. I look back, I wonder, was I really, whatever, I don't know. But the thing was, I couldn't borrow a gun. No one's loaning me a gun. It was just end up in an evidence bag. I was no good at knots, so that was out. I'd actually given some thought to the bridge abutment. But if I was in England, I thought that would be okay because you're on the other side of the car. But in this country, you got to swerve. There's a lot of variables in the swerving. I'd probably screw that up. And I didn't want to end up in a wheelchair being fed applesauce by a stranger. Because they put shit in your applesauce at that point. And my friends would be visiting me and I'd be trying to tell them. And they'd be going, "Oh, look, Paul's enjoying his applesauce." And whatever. I digress. I'm sorry. So anyway, I washed ashore in March of 2018. Climbed out of the water, went off the deep end, climbed up on the pier. It felt like Andy Dufresne, in Shawshank, and then it just collapsed, and the sun's drying the water. I'm like, all right, let's get to this. And you get up and you turn around, and all your problems are at the end of the pier going, "Hey, what's up? Come on." And for once, I didn't jump back in the water. I was like, "Come at me, bro," and took them on. And how did I do that? how did I do that? And what were they? If there's physical stuff, you got to get in, how do you get a doctor? Do I need a shrink? How do I find one? How do I pick one? Stuff like that simple. I need a job, man. Hey, Ernie, you got a job, man. How do you do a resume? How do you look for a job? How do you present yourself when you're coming from that background in the best light possible and get going on that? I hadn't done my taxes for 7 years. I'm going to make a post about that. I had a shopping bag full of records, just crap, and had to get it together, file the taxes. Today I have a payment plan with the state, and I'm actually waiting to get a pretty sweet deal from the feds, hopefully, to get a lot of money knocked off. I owe them about 30 grand. Hopefully they're going to settle for 10% of that. But I did all that myself. How do you find out, and how do you do stuff like that? I filed for, lost, appealed, and won a Social Security disability claim because I had PTSD. I was the victim of a home invasion and held hostage at knife point for 45 minutes. Another good story. But the fact was I qualified for it. I'm getting off it now because I work, which is what it's meant for. But the thing is, how do you go through that process? I did it all myself. No lawyers, no nothing. I wanted to get I needed a third career because I burnt out the other two. I wanted to go to school. I went through the Massachusetts Rehabilitation Commission process for several months, going to meetings and meetings and meetings. I managed the whole process. They said, "Oh, we're going to give you 1,000. In the end, they were like, "No, we're not giving you 1,000." I appealed and won that. Not only did I win, but they were going to give me 1,000 towards the school. They're now going to do a special process to cut me a check for the whole 1,600, just so I'll stop writing letters. But these are the things. The thing is, you're faced with all this stuff, and it's just so stressful, and anxiety and depression sets in because there's just too much. So how do you get your arms around it? And what I did is I had all these 5 or 6 areas broken down to the task level, so that every day I'd wake up and I'd go, actually thinking about it the night before is a good habit to get into. Tomorrow I need to call Phil at this government agency and ask about this rule. I need to get in touch with Joe so I can get this form. Like right down into the minutia. And when you have things broken down to that level, you don't really have to worry about a lot because you're not forgetting anything. And you know that every day you can get up and make progress towards the stuff you want to do. So whatever it is you want to do, you can apply the stuff that I've done to your own issues and projects, hopefully. So that's the gist of it. Why manifesto? Manifesto's got a bad rap, probably because it's been affiliated with a certain political philosophy that killed 100 million people over the last century. But besides that, that comes from a guy named Gary Vee, who's really inspirational and informative and like a kick-ass entrepreneur type guy. I discovered him, I went through this recovery process, hospital, holding facility, halfway house. When I was in the halfway house, I was watching a lot of positive stuff, personal development stuff. I stumbled upon this clip on YouTube, changed my life. I'm going to try to put a clip, a link to it down below. I'm an old guy, give me a break. But you should check him out if you're interested in this type of stuff. Thank you, Gary. I hope you watch this someday and see this because I did it, man. He's like very inspirational, but it's not just positive thinking. It's like, look, if you want to just watch my shit and feel good, that's great. But why don't you get off your ass and do something? And so that's what I'm doing. Also, Joe Rogan, a lot of positive stuff. He has a 3-hour podcast every day. I don't know how you can even listen to that much stuff. It's all good. It just takes up too much time. But he also has some inspirational stories and clips that were very good. I love all that stuff. But the point is this, no matter where you're starting from, we got this. You can do this. The problem is, like, when we look at our problems and they're at the end of that pier, it's so easy just to jump back in no friggin' water, you know? You don't have to do that anymore, all right? Come along, and hopefully you'll learn something, you'll be entertained, you'll laugh, you'll cry. I don't know, maybe you'll do nothing. So I hope you enjoyed this. I would appreciate it very much and ask a favor of you to please like this. I don't know where you're watching it. I don't know all this shit. I'm learning it as I go. This is the thing I'm in, actually, the school I'm in is digital marketing, and I learn a lot. It's an amazing field. But if you could subscribe, like, please leave me a comment. Great job. Wow, you're full of shit. Where'd you get that nose? Yeah, you know what? This nose was this big when my face was this big. So do the math, not my first nose comment. But if you could just, most importantly, if you would just share this on your own feeds. I need the attention. I'd appreciate it. Thank you very much. Jimmy, cut. We're out of here. Fucking idiot. Gotta do everything.